Hola, I'm Dr. Millán. I have been teaching Spanish B for over 15 years, and I'm here to give you my best tips to get a fantastic grade in your paper one. Empezamos. Okay, let's start from the beginning. What is paper one? Paper one is about your writing skills. So whether you are a higher level student or a standard level student, this paper is structured in the same way. You will have three options to choose from. You have to choose only one. Each option is connected to one of the themes that you've studied in your course. And then within each option, there will be three text type choices, and you must choose the one you think is the most appropriate for the question. The difference between higher level students and standard level is in how much they need to write and how long they have to complete this paper. You can find the information here. The overall grade is 30 marks, and it will be 25% of the overall grade of your course. So here are my 7 tips to ensure that you are going to smash this. Empezamos. Okay, tip number 1. This is about assessment criteria. Know your assessment criteria really well. It is so important that you understand how examiners are going to look at your work. And especially if you really want to achieve a top grade, talking about a 6 or a 7. So what I'm going to say here, hopefully will help you start thinking along the assessment criteria lines. So you have 3 criteria: language, message, and conceptual understanding. Each of these criteria, I want you to look at them as made up of 3 subsections. So the first criteria, which is about language, how well you use your language, how effectively you use Spanish in this case. So the 3 subsections I want you to think about are vocabulary. Is your vocabulary varied? Is your vocabulary specific to the topic that you've chosen? Secondly, the grammar. How complex is the language that you are using? Are you just keeping it safe and just using basic grammatical constructions, or are you taking some risks? Are you experimenting with complex structures? And finally, is the level of accuracy, how accurate your language is. It's very important that you know that nobody is expecting perfection. This is a Spanish B course, it's not for native speakers. However, the kind of mistake that you make is going to be important. So obviously, if you're using complex subjunctive structures and there are mistakes there, they're going to be looked at differently than if you make a mistake conjugating the present tense. So just to keep it in mind: vocabulary, grammar, and accuracy. The second criteria, criteria B, is about the message, so the content of your paper. So again, 3 subsections here. So the first one is, are your ideas relevant? Make sure that when you are planning what to write, that I hope you will plan, is relevant to the question. So if the question is about the environment, you're not going to be talking about your last holiday, for instance. So relevant ideas. The second aspect is the development of those ideas. How well you develop the points that you're trying to make, how many details you provide. It's just yeah, definitely what you're saying. There's enough evidence there to support your arguments, to support what you're trying to say. And finally, how well organized, how well structured are those ideas? So for message, I repeat again, it will be how relevant they are, how well developed your ideas are, and how well organized and structured are, so that they flow, the ideas flow. Finally, criterion C is about conceptual understanding. This is about choosing the text type, but in order to choose the correct text type, you need to understand the task, and that's why the label of this criterion is conceptual understanding. And again, we have 3 aspects to this criterion. Is, first of all, have you chosen a text type that suits the task? Secondly, have you used the right register for the task? And finally, have you used all of the conventions that apply to this particular format, to this particular text type? So take some time, if you haven't done it already, going through the assessment criteria. You can download a document in the comments section, and hopefully this will make you feel a little bit more in control of your planning in particular. Tip number 2, it's about reading the prompt. And no, I am not patronizing you. Read the prompt carefully, at least twice, because you wouldn't believe how many times I have marked papers where students either they don't answer the question fully or they misunderstand what they are supposed to do. So read the question carefully. And what do I mean by that? Have a paper with your pen, you're allowed to do this, underline or highlight the following keywords. So you need to find out the topic, what you're supposed to be writing about. So find words that clearly tell you whether the topic is going to be about health, or is it going to be about identity, or is it going to be about social organization. Just highlight those words that are going to guide you. In any act of communication, and writing is an act of communication, you're going to be talking, in this case, writing to someone. So who are you supposed to be writing to? Yeah, so you're going to be talking about, writing about a topic to somebody. So highlight, underline or circle who this person is. Then you also need to understand, why are you supposed to be writing to this person or persons? Is it because you want to explain something? Is it because you want to complain? Is it because you want to raise awareness? Find out the why, the motivation to write to this person. And also it's important, I think, to distinguish the purpose. So what are you supposed to achieve with this writing? Are you supposed to convince them? Are you supposed to make them change their mind? If it's a diary, maybe are you supposed to feel better about it? Will it be helping you make a decision about something? So really try to understand exactly what the task is about. What are you writing about? To whom? Why? And for what purpose? If you understand that, it will be really easy to choose your text type. Once you've chosen your text type, you need to spend some time thinking about the person you are writing to, about your audience. So are you writing to one person, or are you writing to a group of people? Are you writing to a friend, or are you writing to the headmaster of a school? Are you speaking to a group of students in your school, or are you speaking to a board of directors? As you can see, these different audiences in Spanish, they're going to require different registers. This is what we call colloquial language, if you're speaking to friends or to people that you know very well, or formal register if you're speaking to people that you don't know, or people that have a high status, like a headmaster or a director of a company. And these two different registers, as you know, you've probably studied this in your course, they require different language choices. We signal it differently. So if I'm writing to you, my friend, I'm going to be using tú. En te escribo, y quiero tu opinión. However, if you're speaking to somebody more in a more formal register, you are going to be saying, Señor Rodríguez, le escribo para pedir su opinión. Yeah, so very important that you know exactly who you are writing to, because it's going to affect the language choices that you make. Tip number 4 is all about planning your ideas. And please do not roll your eyes. It's so important that you plan, that you spend some time thinking about how you're going to present these ideas. So do a quick brainstorming of all the different ideas that you could mention about the particular topic and identify the 3 main ones that you feel more confident or that you think are more relevant for this topic. And then for each of those ideas, I would like you to think about another 3 supporting details or anecdotes or references that can help you support your point. Ideally, you will be maybe referring to your knowledge of the Spanish-speaking world or anecdotes. That will be ideal. Also, to help you plan these ideas, think that you don't just have to describe or narrate. You can also compare, you can also analyze, you can put some reflections, some hypotheses. Of course, this is also going to be connected with the type of language you're going to use, but especially at higher level, we are looking for the kind of depth in your writing, how well you reflect and you understand the topic that you are writing about. Tip number 5, more planning. This time is planning how you are going to structure your ideas, how you're going to start, how you're going to develop, and how you're going to end. And please do not leave this to chance. Really think about this. Think about paragraphs. Think about sentences that are connected with full ideas and really structure it. Make the examiner's job easy. When they see a nicely laid out writing, they're going to approach marking it with a much positive mindset. So depending on the text type that you have chosen, really let that text type also guide you as to this structure, but don't try to avoid just a continuous set of texts. Just think about how to structure the ideas. It will help you write and it will help the examiner read and understand what you're trying to say. Tip number 6 is about planning your language this time. Planning your language. Yes, I highly recommend planning your language. And what do I mean by that? So depending on the text type, you're going to be making decisions already, whether it's going to be formal or informal, whether it's going to be tú or usted, whether it's going to, su. So depending on the text type, you're going to have different starting points, different structures to start your sentences. So try to have like a repertoire when you are revising. So how do I start an email? How do I start a speech? How do I start an interview? Then also think about the connectors you're going to use. Once you've decided on the structure of your text, is it going to be a cumulative structure where you're going to give in details, your point 1 and point 2 and point 3? Or is it going to be more like a counter arguments? I'm saying this, however, there's another point that is going to contradict what I said. So think about that. Think the connectors you're going to be using to relate, to connect those paragraphs, and also connectors to connect the sentences that you're using. Make sure that you have specific terminology related to the topic that you are using, that just to show your knowledge and how confident you are about the topic you've chosen. Then plan the grammar that you want to use, especially if you want to show off. And I would say have a selection of subjunctive structures, especially if you're in higher level, but also for standard level. Have a selection of complex structures, like si hubiera sabido eso, just structures that you can learn and you can adapt and use into any context. This will really help boost your language scores. And also, if you can, have some authentic expressions. And by this, I don't mean just idiomatic expressions like tener la sartén por el mango. It's not about that. It's about maybe saying the difference between pienso que and considero, or me resulta imposible creer. That's what we talk about. The authenticity of the language is how Spanish people would speak in that particular context, in that particular moment. Tip number 7. Final tip, and so important. Make sure that you leave 5 minutes at the end to revise your text. to check the language, to make sure that there are accents that you can write, to make sure that you haven't really, there might be some spelling mistakes or some orthography. Just that final check is really important, because you might be able to identify mistakes or even conjugation mistakes. If you know that maybe conjugation is an issue, in those last 5 minutes, maybe you can just focus on your verbs and make sure that all the endings are correct. So yes, really important to just make sure you remain in control at all times. So these are my 7 tips. Why don't you try them during revision and let me know how you get on?